It was a cold night in New Chicago, but the sky burned with color. At first people thought it was the northern lights, a rare gift this far south, but then the colors started to pulse, timed like a heartbeat. Across the city, news drones drifted upward, transmitting live feeds to every screen, every device, every glass wall with display tech. At 9:46 p.m., the heartbeat stopped, and the colors froze into a strange circular pattern. In every home, every bar, every station, the sound cut out for 3 seconds, and then a voice spoke. It wasn't a human voice. It wasn't even close. It was layered as if 1,000 tones were speaking at once, each word bending the air in ways no human mouth could. The language was alien, but translation software caught up instantly, flashing subtitles in every known tongue. And the message was only one sentence. Effective immediately, planet Earth is to be classified as a dead zone. No contact. No entry. No interference. The words repeated again and again, 5 times before the voice fell silent. The circular pattern in the sky dimmed, leaving only the deep black of space. For a few moments, the world was still. No one spoke. Number 1 moved. Then the news networks erupted in chaos. People screamed into live feeds asking what it meant. Experts shouted over each other trying to claim authority. Politicians stared into cameras with pale, stiff faces promising investigations they knew nothing about. The ban wasn't just from one alien race, it was from the United Galactic Council itself. The governing body humanity had only learned about 2 years earlier, after first contact with the traitors from Tau Cygni. The military acted first. Orbital satellites were retasked, scanning for incoming fleets. The Lunar Defense Station went to full alert. Spaceports shut down. Flights to Mars, Titan, and the Belt were grounded. But no invasion came. No ships appeared, at least none they could see. The ban itself was the weapon, a silent wall closing. Around Earth, if the Council wanted no contact, then no alien traitor, no research vessel, or no wandering fleet would ever come near humanity again. For a species just starting to crawl out into the stars, it was exile in the White House bunker. The president sat in a narrow room of stone-colored screens, listening to her intelligence chiefs. None of them knew why the council had acted. There had been no war, no incident. Humanity's expansion into space was still too small to threaten anyone. The president's voice was steady, but her hands tightened into fists as she asked the question no one wanted to hear. What did we do? No one answered. Across the oceans, other leaders asked the same question. No one answered them either. Then at 10:02 p.m., something changed. Over the Pacific Ocean, the clouds began to twist, spiraling into a massive storm without warning. Air traffic controllers rerouted planes. Cargo ships altered course. But in the center of the storm, satellites caught a shape descending along. Curved vessel of black metal, its surface shimmering as if liquid light was running across it. Didn't match any ship in human records. It didn't match any ship in Galactic Council archives either. The vessel came down slowly, stopping high in Earth's orbit. It made no broadcasts. It ignored all hails. For 6 minutes and 22 seconds, it just hovered. People stood in the streets, staring up through clouds and city haze, knowing something was up there even if they couldn't see it with their own eyes. In the Pacific, Navy ships kept their guns locked on the coordinates, though everyone knew it wouldn't matter. In space, defense satellites tracked the vessel's every move. And then, without warning, the ship tilted slightly, and in a slow, impossible motion, it was gone. No flash, no streak, no burst of light, just absence. But it left something behind. As the vessel departed, one of the orbital tracking stations in Australia detected a faint residue in the ship's exhaust trail, not physical debris, but a narrowband radio pulse. At first it looked like static, then the AI filters picked up a pattern. It was a message. Only 2 words burned into the airwaves with crystal clarity. They know. By midnight, the whole world had heard those words. Who they were, no one could say. What they knew, no one dared to guess. In the control rooms, in the war bunkers, in the homes of ordinary citizens, a fear began to grow, not just of aliens, but of something else, something older, hidden, and far closer than the stars. In a small apartment in New Chicago, a man named Daniel Reed sat on his couch, staring at the replay on his wall display. He wasn't a soldier, or a politician, or a scientist. He was a systems engineer for a mining company on Luna, grounded now by the travel ban. He had seen something in the footage the news wasn't talking about. Just before the alien vessel vanished, its liquid light hull had rippled into a pattern 5 circles connected by a single line. Daniel had seen that pattern before, carved into an obsidian slab his father had found years ago on a deep-sea drilling platform. The slab had been taken by government agents, and his father had never spoken of it again. Now Daniel leaned forward, whispering the words into the empty air. They know what? But the question was swallowed by the hum of the city, a hum that seemed sharper now, almost alive. Somewhere deep under the Pacific Ocean, something answered. Not in words, not in sound, but in the slow, steady thud of something waking up. The next morning, the world was running on panic. News feeds played the Galactic Council's ban on repeat, interrupted only by shaky videos of the strange black vessel. Every expert, every conspiracy theorist, every government spokesperson was shouting their own version of the truth, and none of them agreed. The only thing everyone knew for sure was that Earth had been cut off. No alien contact, no trade, no help. Humanity was alone again, maybe forever. Daniel Reed had not slept. His wall display still showed the freeze frame of the alien vessel's hull, the 5 circles connected by a single line. He'd gone through every data archive he could access, without triggering security flags, searching for that symbol. Nothing. No mention in public databases, no match in human archaeological records. But he didn't need the internet to tell. Him, it was real. He'd seen it with his own eyes when he was a boy. Etched deep into the black surface of the obsidian slab his father brought up from the ocean floor. His father had called it an impossible thing. Then the government had taken it. And his father had drowned a year later in what the official report called a diving accident. Daniel had never believed that story. Now, with the alien ship's pattern burned into his mind, he felt something old stirring questions that had been buried for years. The problem was, asking those questions could get him killed. At 11:14 a.m., his apartment door chimed. The building's security feed showed a woman in a black coat, standing perfectly still in the hallway. No name tag, no ID, no badge, just eyes that didn't blink. Against his better judgment, Daniel opened the door a crack. The woman didn't smile, didn't greet him, just said his name as if confirming something on a list. Then she handed him a small metal case and left without a word. Daniel locked the door, placed the case on the table, and opened it. Inside was an old-fashioned hard drive, the kind you could plug into a terminal without connecting to the net. There was a single file. It was a grainy video, time-stamped 20 years ago. His father was in it, younger, wearing a wetsuit and standing beside a large black shape hauled onto a drilling platform. The camera panned across it, yes, the same. Slab, the same 5 circles. But this time, the surface was glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. In the background, something moved in the water too big, too fast to be a whale. The video cut to black, and a single line of text appeared. It's not from the stars. Daniel felt the hairs on his arms rise. It wasn't from the stars. Then where? And what did it have to do with the council's ban? Across the city, in a heavily secured underground facility, President Adira Holt was being shown similar footage. The head of naval intelligence spoke in a low, strained voice. "Ma'am, this is why they've banned us. It's not what we've done. It's what's here." He tapped a control, and the screen showed sonar images from the past month. The bottom of the Pacific, deep beyond the reach of any submersible, something enormous had shifted. Not once, but several times. The movements matched no known geological activity, and the size was staggering miles long. Whatever it was waking up. The council's ban was starting to make a kind of terrible sense. If something that powerful was on Earth, hidden in the ocean for who knew how long, the aliens might not be afraid of humanity. They might be afraid of it. That night, Daniel made his choice. He packed a small bag, took the hard drive, and left his apartment. He wasn't sure who had sent him the footage, but he knew one thing. His father's old dive logs had coordinates. And those coordinates were only 200 miles from the current sonar disturbances. Outside, the streets were tense, patrolled by military drones. People whispered about food shortages now that alien imports were cut. Others spoke of leaving Earth entirely before it was too late. Though no ships were allowed to depart, Daniel caught a freight train heading west, avoiding cameras when he could. The journey took all night, and as dawn broke over the Pacific coast, he saw the ocean stretching out before him, endless and silver under the rising sun. Somewhere out there, hidden in black water and cold pressure, was the thing the aliens feared, the thing the Council had cut humanity off to contain, and far offshore. A line of tiny lights shimmered on the horizon, too straight, too steady to be ships. Daniel watched them, heart pounding, as they sank slowly beneath the waves. Somewhere, in the deep, something answered. Daniel stood on the edge of the pier, a salty wind biting his face as the early morning fog rolled in from the ocean. The fishing town was quiet, its people moving slow, avoiding eye contact, as if they knew something he didn't tour. Maybe they knew exactly what he was looking for. His father's dive coordinates were burned into his mind, but reaching them meant going more than 8,000 meters down. No human could survive that depth without specialized equipment, and every piece of deep-sea gear was monitored by the government. Still, there were always people who could get you what you needed for a price. At the far end of the docks, he found her, Captain Mara Voss, owner of an aging deep diver vessel called the Hollow Star. Her reputation was a mix of legend and threat. She'd smuggled alien relics, outrun patrol drones, and once surfaced from a dive without 3 of her crew, refusing to say why. She studied Daniel in silence, her one good eye narrowing when he handed her the coordinates. "You want to go there?" she asked finally. People vanish there, not ship's people. The kind of vanish where the ship comes back empty. When Daniel said he'd pay triple her rate, she stared at him for a long moment, then simply said, "You're paying me to take you down, not to bring you back." By nightfall, they were miles from shore, the city lights gone, replaced by the dark, endless horizon. The Hollow Star groaned as it lowered its submersible into the black water, the metal cage rattling around them. The surface light faded within minutes, replaced by total darkness, pierced only by the sub's flood lamps. The deeper they went, the more the water seemed to press in, as if it wanted them to turn back. 5,000 meters down, strange shapes drifted past, creatures with too many eyes, translucent bodies pulsing with bioluminescence. Flinch. But Daniel could see her knuckles whiten around the controls. "This is where the currents get strange," she murmured. "Do you feel that? The water's pulling down." The depth gauge ticked past 7,000 meters, then 8. That's when the flood lamps hit something massive. At first Daniel thought it was a cliff, but no, this surface was too smooth, too deliberate. Black stones stretched upward beyond the lamp's reach, etched with faint glowing lines. He recognized them instantly. The 5 circles connected by the single line, but here the symbol was huge, spanning hundreds of meters. The glow pulsed slowly, like it was breathing. Mara swore under her breath. "That's not rock," she said. As if to prove her point, the stone shifted. Not much, just enough for Daniel to feel the sub tremble. Then the sonar went crazy, showing shapes moving in the water all around them. Something passed in front of the sub fast, massive. Gone in an instant. The temperature dropped. The glow from the markings grew brighter. Daniel felt an almost physical pull in his chest, like the thing was calling him, recognizing him. His father had been here. He knew it. And whatever this was, it had been waiting. Then the radio hissed to life, not Mara's, not the ship's, but a channel Daniel had never tuned. A voice spoke in perfect, calm English. "You should not have come." The flood lamps flickered, then died. The darkness, the glowing markings lit the water like a silent storm. The silence inside the sub was heavier than the ocean pressing in around them. Daniel's breath came too fast, fogging the glass, while Mara's hands froze over the controls. The voice on the radio was not distorted by static. It was clear. Too clear, like the speaker was sitting inches away from them. "You should not have come," it repeated, each word slow, measured, as if it was thinking about the shape of human speech. Daniel's first instinct was to reply, but his throat locked. His father's last recording had mentioned them in the deep. Is this what he'd meant? "Who are you?" Mara asked, her voice sharp but quieter than usual. There was a pause, too, long, almost uncomfortable, before the reply came. "We are the memory that remained when your kind was forgotten. We do not speak to the surface. We do not answer to the sky." Daniel frowned. The sky? Was it talking about space? He leaned forward. "My father was here," he said, his voice shaking but determined. "What did you do to him?" A glow. Outside, the sub brightened suddenly. Yes. Spreading across the massive stone-like surface until it looked like a star map under the sea. In the patterns, Daniel swore he saw shapes forming humanoid figures, ships, cities, then vanishing like smoke. "Your father was marked," the voice said, "as you are now. The sky feared what he carried, so it marked your world as untouchable. Dead zone. Quarantined." Daniel's heart pounded. The universe banned Earth because of something. Inhumans? That made no sense. Then, from the dark beyond the glow, something moved closer. It wasn't fish or a machine. It was vast, shapeless, yet somehow alive, like liquid shadows folding over themselves. The sub shook as Mara gripped the controls, but the voice spoke again, almost soothing. "You were not meant to see us. The sky would erase this place if they knew you had returned." Daniel's thoughts spun. Yet a sky meant other civilizations, alien empires, maybe the whole galaxy. It meant whatever was beneath Earth's oceans wasn't just dangerous. It was powerful. "What do you want from me?" he asked. There was another long pause. When the voice returned, it sounded heavier, almost regretful. "We do not want, we warn. If you carry in your blood the thing they fear, if you leave this place, they will come." Mara's eyes flicked toward him, suspicion growing. "What does that mean? It's blood, you're saying?" She stopped when something massive drifted into view outside. It wasn't a creature or a ship. It was a door, set into the black structure. The door was etched with more glowing lines, brighter than all the rest. And in the center, unmistakable, was the same symbol Daniel's father had carved into his desk. It pulsed in time with Daniel's heartbeat. The voice spoke one final time. "If you open that door, you will never be able to close it again." The flood lamps snapped back on, and for the first time, Daniel saw the shadowed shapes surrounding the sub. They were not fish. They were not human. And they were all staring at him. Daniel's hands trembled as he stared at the glowing symbol. It was calling to him not with sound, but with something deeper, like a vibration inside his bones. "Daniel, don't even think about it. You don't know what's behind there." Her tone was firm, but her eyes betrayed fear. Outside the glass, the shadowy figures remained still, their pale lights blinking in patterns, almost like silent communication. The massive black door seemed ancient, untouched for eons, yet the glow of the markings made it feel alive. Daniel stepped toward the control panel of the sub, ignoring Mara's grip on his arm. "My father came here for a reason. He wanted me to find this." Mara shook her head violently. "Or he wanted to warn you away from it." The voice said, opening it would. She stopped as the radio crackled again. The deep, calm voice returned, quieter this time. "The sky will come, the shields will fall. You will burn the stars." The words sank into Daniel like cold water. Burn the stars. It sounded like something out of a nightmare, yet the conviction in the voice made it impossible to dismiss. Mara slammed her palm against the console. "Daniel, listen to me." In the middle of the ocean, surrounded by things we don't understand, talking to something that doesn't want us here. This isn't just dangerous, it's suicidal. But Daniel's mind was locked on one thing. If Earth had been marked as a dead zone, if the galaxy had truly abandoned humanity out of fear, then maybe the answers behind that door could explain why. Maybe they could prove Earth's innocence, reveal the truth his father died for. He pressed a button, sending the sub closer to the enormous surface. The lights outside shifted, the shadow figures breaking formation and drifting back, as if even they feared what was about to happen. As the sub's floodlights swept across the door, the carved lines began to shift and swirl like liquid metal. The symbol at the center pulsed faster, matching Daniel's racing heartbeat. Mara's voice cracked. "Daniel, it's reacting to you." She stepped back, almost pressing herself against the far wall. The voice came again, sharper than before. "Last warning. Close your eyes. Turn back. Forget you were here." The glowing shapes outside the sub suddenly moved in unison, circling slowly, their light intensifying until the water itself seemed to shimmer. Daniel hesitated, his hand hovering over the manual release lever for the sub's manipulator arm. He thought of his father's last words in the recording. "If they know what's in you, they will never let Earth live." Those words were the key. His father hadn't been talking about him, but about something inside all humans. And if this door held the answer, then maybe opening it was the only way to understand why the galaxy feared them so much. Daniel pulled the lever. The arm extended toward the center of the door, gripping one of the glowing rings that framed the symbol. As soon as the claw touched it, a deep rumble shook the ocean floor. The glow exploded outward, racing along the black surface like veins of fire. Mara shouted over the noise, "Daniel, it's waking something up." The shadow creatures outside scattered in every direction. The voice on the radio turned into a roar, angry but desperate. "You cannot stop it now, run." The door began to split down the middle, light pouring through the crack, so bright it pierced the black waters for miles. Daniel shielded his eyes, but he couldn't look away. Something was moving inside, something impossibly large. And then, in a voice that wasn't the one from the radio, but something far older and far more dangerous, the words came, "The seal is broken." The ocean was no longer quiet. A deep hum pulsed through the water, shaking the sub from all sides. Daniel's ears popped as if the sea itself had shifted. The light spilling from the massive black door cut through the depths like a sunrise. Underwater, unnatural, and blinding. Shapes moved in that light too large to comprehend, their outlines distorted by the shimmering water. Mara gripped the seat, her knuckles pale. "Daniel, we need to go. Now." The radio came alive again, but this time it wasn't the calm, warning voice. This was chaos, hundreds of voices overlapping, speaking different alien languages. Through the noise, Daniel caught fragments. "Seal broken. Human contact confirmed. Initiate planetary cordon." It wasn't just one species, it was the galaxy. They knew the door had been opened above the sub. The water rippled strangely, as though the surface far above was tearing. Then, in the distance, lights appeared, hundreds of them descending fast. Mara's voice cracked with disbelief. "That's not rescue. That's an orbital strike team." Daniel's breath caught. They weren't coming to save them. They were coming to contain them. The door behind them groaned as the two massive slabs slid open completely, revealing an empty void beyond empty, but not still. There was movement in the dark, like the curling of smoke, except each curl glimmered with strange electric patterns. Then, a sound came not through the water, but directly into their minds. "We remember you." The words were heavy, like they had been carried across 1,000,000,000 years. Mara gasped, clutching her head. The presence continued. "We were here before the stars. You were made from us. The galaxy fears you because they remember what you can become." Daniel froze. The meaning was clear. This wasn't just about him, or Earth. Humanity itself carried something inside, something ancient, something the other civilizations had buried deep and sworn never to awaken. Now he had. The ocean shook harder. Above, the alien strike fleet began releasing glowing spheres that burned as they fell through the water. The shadow creatures that had once circled the door now swam in panic, fleeing the light as if their existence depended on it. Mara shouted, "They're not coming for that thing. They're coming for us." Daniel's mind raced. If they were trying to erase humanity, maybe this thing beyond the door was the only chance to stop them. Or maybe it was exactly the reason Earth had been marked as a dead zone. The ancient voice seemed to sense his thoughts. We can free you, but once freed, cannot be caged again. The sub's alarm screamed as a heat wave surged through the water. One of the alien weapons had struck nearby. Daniel looked at Mara. We either close the door and run, or we let it out. She stared at him, horrified. If you let it out, it might destroy everything. Daniel glanced back at the blinding light inside the ancient chamber. His father's last words echoed in his mind. If they know what's in you, they will never let Earth live. He realized now they already knew. The only question was whether humanity would hide forever or fight. His hand hovered over the controls. The ancient presence waited, silent but expectant. The alien fleet above was seconds from reaching them. The water trembled like the whole planet was holding its breath. Daniel made his choice, and the ocean roared.